Iga, big bad Iga. And there is drama in Warsaw. Iga Swiatek tested positive for the banned substance trimetazidine. We're going to call it TMZ for short. But the real question was her suspension a little too short? And as always, this video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use, the Fair Dealing, and the Digital Millennium Act. Iga Swiatek won 36 matches in the 21 season. But starting that 22 season, she got hot, red hot. And she took the tennis world by storm, doubling her win output. And over the course of the past 3 seasons, she's won nearly 215 matches. Whoa! Added 19 championships and 4 Grand Slams, and no one saw this coming. Now, she had a great junior career. She's an SW19 champion. But after a foot injury, her career was in jeopardy. That's right, guys. A lot of us thought, could she bounce back? But she did. And better than ever. But after failing a drug test this past August, testing positive for TMZ, she was given a 30-day suspension. And the real question fans want to know is the ITIA, the International Tennis Integrity Agency, do they have any integrity at all? That's right, guys, because Nikola, that's right, you heard about this story, guys. Nikola Bartunkova from the Czech tested positive for the same substance, TMZ, and she was given a 6-month suspension. It proved to be a contamination, not her fault. Same case here with Iga Swiatek, who would only get a 30-day suspension, given enough time to take a break, take off the Asian leg of the tour, and come back and defend her WTA championship in Saudi Arabia and still earn a ton of cash. Was that fair, ladies and gentlemen? Nikola literally had her career ruined. We had a huge topic here on the channel last year. Simona Halep, she tested positive for the banned substance roxadustat. That's right, guys. Again, helping blood flow, oxygen, lung expansion. Why is that important? Yeah, recovery, guys. That's right, guys. It's going to give you a lot more stamina on the court. Now, when we're talking about performance enhancing and performance PEDs for sure, right? Performance enhancing drugs. It's all about the blood flow, the recovery. And in this case with Iga Swiatek, TMZ, it has an edge. This is why it's a banned substance. However, Iga Swiatek, the levels found in her system considered so small that not necessarily would have given her a benefit. Listen, I'm not a scientist. We're not going to get into that level of the conversation because I say it all the time. A wise man once said, if you can't prove something to be true, it's probably best to not have an opinion on it. But this is tennis news, right? This is about the story. This is about the athlete. And what do you guys think? Comment below. I want your opinion because I'm going to give you mine. My opinion is pretty simple. Iga Swiatek's a great player, had a great junior career, but I never saw this level of domination out of her so fast, so soon, right, guys? That 21 season, I talked a lot about Iga Swiatek. She's a big personality on the channel, a big player on the channel, but she wasn't one of the more popular players on the channel. Right? She just was not. Then all of a sudden, this 22 season, her performance just doubled. She came out of nowhere, started dominating the tour. And I talk about averages a lot, right? What gets a professional player their huge contract, those huge endorsements? It's their average. It's what they're capable of doing. No matter how good you are as a professional athlete, you're going to have bad days. But what keeps you popular? What gets you those championships? What gets you the fans and the support from the public, the media, the endorsements, the sponsors, is what you can produce on an average. To see Iga Swiatek's performance just spike like that, I don't know. It took me by shock. I was really surprised, you know. And I talk about how any of you athletes here listening, you know, when you've played in leagues and organizations and tournaments for a while, you learn to become familiar with your peers, their games, and you understand that, you kind of understand that, what a player can do, what they're capable of. And when you see a player that you just watch for so long just come back the next season and just start dominating everyone, because it's all about level. It's very tough to raise your level amongst the best in the world to the point where they can't touch you. That's very difficult to do. And I just thought Iga Swiatek, she did it a little too quick. We talk about those once in a lifetime athletes. They're that way their entire lives. They're number one draft picks their entire lives. And I just felt Iga Swiatek was a good player. She's a good, top 10 junior player. But I didn't see her dominating the tour like this. That's just my personal opinion. How did she do it? Well, she hasn't failed any other drug tests. So, I think she's getting a lot of haters, and she's also getting a lot of support. But we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. But I do want to pivot and talk about someone like a Lance Armstrong, who said, look, he passed over 500 drug tests during his career. He said he never failed a drug test, over 500. But he said, in his own words, that he was using performance-enhancing drugs. So how did he pass all of these tests? Well, listen, guys, I've talked about this several years ago, long before this Iga Swiatek controversy. And I do want to pivot again to Nicola. I want to talk about Simona Halep, who last year, this was a big topic on the channel. She tested positive for roxadustat. That's right, guys. It's all about the blood flow, right? That's a banned substance. Again, that's going to give you increased blood flow. It's going to help your oxygen levels. That's going to help you recover. It's going to give you stamina. It's all about the blood flow. All of these PEDs, all of these banned substances, it's about giving nutrients to the blood flow, helping the organs, function while you're in competition. And Lance Armstrong said he did not fail a single drug test out of over 500, but he was using, because these scientists, they have this thing down to the T. And I talked about this several years ago. It's really down to the minute. That's right, guys. They can give you PEDs and have you pass a drug test just based on when you take it. Now, if you're not familiar with these testing agencies, a lot of times they'll show up 6 a.m. to your hotel room to give you a sample, or before a match or after a match. But the reality here is, if you take this during the right time and you have a 1 hour window, you can pass these tests very easily. And even then, there's different types of substances that you can take that won't show up on the test at all. The scientists are always one step ahead of the testing agencies, because they are the scientists responsible for passing these tests. Now, listen, guys, Iga Swiatek, I do think, for the most part, is a good player. I think she's an elite athlete. But I do think it's unacceptable for this 30-day suspension, right? It's unacceptable when you're giving players that are testing positive for the same thing 6 months. Simona Halep had a 4-year provisional suspension. Look, come on, right? And again, she had irregular passport levels, so there was possibly a little bit more going on there if you really dig into Simona's story. But at the same time, to give Iga 30 days, I think that's a big slap on the wrist. And again, was it contaminated? It's possibly. I mean, possibly, right? And this is my opinion. We're gonna see the legalities of the situation. And again, a lot of this stuff can come out during discovery. That's when you're really going to get to the truth of these situations. You start your court case, and when discovery comes out, this is when you get the real information. You can release a news or media story, and, depending on who's backing you, you can spin the media any way you want to. This is about the court case. I want to see the court cases. I want to see the lawsuits, because that's when the truth comes out. This is when the documents, you have to hand over the documents, and you have to really prove your innocence, and that's what I'm waiting for. I really want to dive deep, because I'm hearing that there's could possibly be some litigation behind this matter. And again, if Iga Swiatek is innocent, then she deserves the benefit of the doubt. But if she's guilty, and again, if there's going to be legalities, then I think that a fair suspension should be handed down. But again, it seems like we're past this issue. So again, unless something else comes out different in discovery, then we could pivot and revisit this in the future. My personal opinion, though, is I just always thought it was questionable that her level could just rise so high amongst the elite in the world when it was kind of obvious where her level was to just come back and dominate. And we're talking about the domination in bagels and breadsticks and all this other stuff, forehand speed improvements, which, you can improve your forehand speed. And that's not saying that's not, unreasonable. But I think just the manner, when you look at what I've always questioned, it was her stamina. The manner in which she's been able to do this is just questioning to me because, you take a look at someone like Paula Badosa, who was also at that WTA final in 21. Iga used to struggle against Paula Badosa. And Paula Badosa, she's a junior French Open champion, right? She won the French Open in 2015 against Anna Konskaya. I've talked highly about Paula Badosa. But in that 21 season, Paula Badosa started that season right around ranked 100 in the world. She wasn't this dominant player. She had a great run. She won a few titles. She won the Indian Wells. And that propelled her into that WTA championship in Mexico with the best 8 in the world. But Paula Badosa, despite having a good junior career, top 8 player in the world, juniors, she struggled on the main tour. And she used to be a handful for Iga Swiatek. And Paula Badosa is a good player. We know that. But being around 100 in the world, and I just think that Paula Badosa had a lot of improvements, but she was clearly ahead of Iga Swiatek, in my personal opinion, despite Iga being a 2020 Roland Garros champion. I felt Paula Badosa did a lot of things well when facing Iga Swiatek. Now when they face each other, she just dominates Paula Badosa. And of course, Paula Badosa, she's had injuries, she's had boyfriend issues, she's had a lot going on. But I say that to say this: when you just take your level in a matter of a few months and just start dominating the tour, stuff like that, it's going to raise eyebrows. For anyone that's ever competed and played against people your entire life, to see someone come back and just dominate the league in 3 months, it's going to raise eyebrows. It doesn't happen that way, especially with tennis, where it takes time to add layers and levels to your game. It is about form, but to take your form and stay consistent through a whole season and then add on 2 more seasons and add on 125 weeks at number 1, just and what I would consider out of the blue, it's questionable to me. That's just my personal opinion. And this is why people love this channel. Look, we're a small tennis network. I'm not trying to be famous or, I'm not trying to do this for money, likes, or views. I'm doing this for genuine people that want to talk tennis and speak truth, right? People live their lives nowadays and everything's a lie. Everything's met with a lie or a scam, and people are tired of it. You don't want to tune into YouTube and hear your favorite YouTube personality lying and going with the script and just, being biased. Give your own opinion. My personal opinion is simple. I thought her performance after that 21 season was a bit too fast and questionable. I thought it was too good to be true. That's my personal opinion. And of course, look, I've been around the block once or twice, so you can't fool me that easily. I just thought something might have been up, and the way you part ways with your coach, it's just there's something there. If you ask me, there's something that's not right with that situation. How do you part ways with your coach after 19 titles and 4 or 5 slams? Something's not right about that situation there, and it's you're not going to tell me after you are winning that situation is so rocky and bad. There's just something about the situation that's never sat well with me. But I do think personally, and I've said this in the past, a lot of times, if you take a look at what someone will do to win, a lot of times that will give you an idea of what they could possibly do to win. And again, look, this is my personal opinion. I just think that the ITIA, they have to be a little bit more fair with these suspensions. I think a 30-day suspension, I think it's too low. And there's a lot of professionals out here. There's coaches that agree with this, And I think it's a slap on the wrist. But again, it's damage control. You don't want to take your number one player of the last few years who's just dominated the tour and just involve them in a huge scandal like this, and if the truth is what it is, and as of now, the truth says she took a substance that she's been taking for a while now, and it's not her fault. The substance was contaminated. It's possible, right? Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. So it is possible. And right now, the signs point to that being possible. What do you guys think? Because the real topic of discussion here is the ITIA an agency with integrity. Because you have to have some type of ground rule that's consistent. You can't suspend one player for 30 days and another player for 6 months and ruin this other player's career. Where's the consistency here? What do you guys think? Let's talk about this. But I've said for a while now, I said, look, it almost seems to me like, as someone that's covered Iga for a while now, it almost seemed like right around that 22 season, you can kind of see the algorithms just start to shift towards her way, right? And it didn't happen right away, but it did eventually happen. And then it's like a light switch went off. You had all these fans coming to the channel that weren't here before. And it seems like this army, this mob of, I don't know where they came from, to be honest with you. They just showed up and they're bullying people. It's almost like the damage control started. Right? It's like the damage control before it all started crashing down. It is my opinion, because you have this mob of angry people showing up, trying to defend everything that she's doing wrong, trying to just overwhelm you with everything she's doing right with her accolades. But if you take a look at all the things she's doing wrong, defending them, bullying people, disrespecting people, and I'm like, This is some type of damage control here. It's before it happens. Trust me. And it happened. And I guess it was a contamination. It was a mistake. But the reality is, I told you, this is damage control before it happens. This is not normal for a fan base to continue to disrespect people and talk down on people and argue with people and go to every single video and find a way to argue with people. That's not normal, and it's not real, okay? And the reality here is, it doesn't even seem right, because fans aren't like this, and this is why I think if you take a look at someone like Coco, who struggled on tour, even though she's great, she's got a ton of accomplishments, of all these ladies on tour, if you look at their teenage careers, she's had the best teenage career of all the ladies on tour, but she's so young, she still had room to struggle and get better and improve and go through her ups and downs. And you look at her fan base, they're real people. They're realistic. They're like, look, we got to fix the double faults. Keep working, keep trying. But we're not trying to, not acknowledge her wrongs and her faults. She has things that she can work on. And that's what makes her such a beautiful person. But when you have these mobs of fans that they don't want to take the criticism, the fair criticism, when someone's breaking rules and they're holding up their opponents, and when you're ignoring this, to me, that's not real. There's something there. It's like there's damage control being done there for a reason that we don't know. That's my personal opinion, and I've never respected that, because that's not real. Real people don't do stuff like that. You take a look, and this is one thing you never want to do. You never want to lose. You never want to lose, like, true perception. You never want to lose the reality of situations. Most people don't like to be lied to. You go to work, you turn on the TV, you turn on the radio, and you're just met with all lies. You go buy your favorite meal or something, and that's not what it's advertised. Day-to-day people just want honesty. They just want truth. And when you go to these boards and these posts, and you see this angry mob of fans that are just coming here that are just not even realistic about situations, then that's nonsense. And you say to yourself, where's this coming from? This is not real. This is not true. And we have to take a look at some of these agencies and say, look, what is your interest? Okay? Because no matter how it happened, on the surface level, if someone's caught breaking the rules, you got to show some form of integrity. But again, we want to get to the truth, but you can't give one player 6 months and then give the next player 30 days. Get to the root of the situation. But again, this special treatment, we got to find some type of balance in the sport where, because things do happen and it looks like this is possibly a mistake, right? It certainly looks like it. But again, we're going to wait to, there's going to be legalities and lawsuits. The discovery will bring the truth out. But then again, we will probably never hear the truth because a lot of that stuff will be sealed behind closed doors. But again, you can make this stuff look good, especially if you got long money. You can make this stuff look good. You can file cases and settle, and no one will ever know because it's going to be sealed information. But you can still make it look good in front of the public. My personal opinion is truth is dangerous. Truth is definitely stranger than fiction. That is true, and I agree. I agree with that. But if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's not a mongoose. Tennis in a minute, guys. Like the video, show some love, leave your comment and feedback below, and we're going to talk. Does the ITIA have integrity? We'll be right back.